Cool. Hello. It's time for Junie B. Jones.
Junie B.
We're a little late this month.
That's my fault, guys.
Life happens to everyone. But just to warn everyone, next month will creep up on us fast.
Luckily, next month is only Junie B's, no nonfiction, so.
I mean, I wouldn't say luckily because this was good for me.
Yeah, but like in terms of preparation, it will sneak up on you. It's only 3 Junie B's.
It's going to take like an hour to read all 3.
Yeah, you'll be fine. We could do it next week, or like we could do it tomorrow and you guys would be ready. We're not gonna, but.
Right. Not in the cards. Hello. That reminds me of what's her name? Gabby, who does I got new nails.
Don't know.
I'm talking about blur. You don't know what I'm talking about? Danielle probably does. Okay. Do you want to talk about Junie Beach first? Junie Beach.
Yeah, I feel like we should talk about Junie B first because we'll have less to say, and then we can have like a nice long conversation about the nonfiction book.
Okay. I might not have long thoughts about either, but okay.
Okay, well, you probably have more thoughts about it than Junie B.
Okay.
So what did we rate Yucky Blucky Fruitcake?
This was probably my least favorite so far.
Okay.
3 stars.
I also gave it 3 stars, but I've been giving some of them 3 stars, so.
Okay. You know me. 5 stars. I mean, I've given Junie B 5 stars, and Magic Tree House was not getting 5 stars, but this was not that girl. Oh. I mean, I remembered the cakewalk part, like what we were going towards, but I didn't remember that her grandpa was babysitting in the morning. Like, I didn't remember where we...
I can't decide if I've read this one before.
Oh. I think if you didn't remember the cakewalk, that you probably haven't read it.
The problem is that, like, when people say cakewalk, I have more vivid memories of cakewalks at my actual school. And so I go, am I remembering the feelings associated with that or having read this before? And
are my memories mine or Junie B. Jones's?
Right. It's a source monitoring error, basically. The memory scientist is here to say a cakewalk stan account. I don't think I actually, the funniest part about me saying that is I didn't actually participate in the cakewalk. I
ran it.
My mom was on the PTA, right? And so when we had these types of carnivals, we were helping a lot, and we would go and like make sure things were working properly. And I specifically remember one year where the cakewalk was and how many times I walked by it, because I also like didn't understand it at the time.
Oh, I remember like exactly where our cakewalk was in our gym, and I remember doing it.
Ours was outside because Florida.
It's an adult cakewalk, let's be honest.
For real.
Why does all of our joy have to go away when we become adults?
Real. Like, I don't know. Do they not have cakewalks at like regular county fairs? I don't think they do.
I think they should have cakewalks at the casino.
You know? Gambling. Which reminds me that Harris is on a West Coast trip right now, and he went to Las Vegas earlier this week, and he had like $40 and some time, and he lost his $40 immediately.
Yeah, I do not enjoy a casino. It's not in my blood. The despair of losing $40 to me is worse than the joy of winning $40.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, where else would there be a cakewalk?
Yeah, I don't
think we all agree that cakewalks were at school, not anywhere else.
Well, because I think school is like the one place that doesn't take food allergies and labeling as seriously as they should.
I remember in elementary school, we had a kid who was like, even like if peanut butter was in the room, it was bad. Like you could not bring a peanut butter sandwich to lunch.
Correct.
And Amanda, my stepsister's always like, yeah, I packed him a peanut butter sandwich. And I'm like, you can't bring peanut butter to school. And I guess if nobody has a deathly allergy, you can.
I actually have a very vivid memory about that. We'll talk about Junie B eventually, I promise. But right now, this. So in my school that I went to kindergarten at, there was a separate like peanut allergy table, right? And there was a kid. Well, they could invite their friends as long as their friends didn't have any peanut products. Okay. So the problem was one day, Vincent, he had a very bad peanut allergy, and his friend Ben, who is also my kindergarten boyfriend, was having lunch with him. And I remember so vividly, I was not at the table, I wasn't invited, but I remember my kindergarten teacher yelling at Benjamin because Vincent had an allergic reaction, and she was like, you need to go wash your hands 5 times, because he'd like touched a peanut butter sandwich, and she was losing it, which like fair enough, Vincent was having an allergic reaction. Right. And then I remember my mom going out of town a couple weeks later. My dad packed my lunch, he packed cashews, and I like opened them. I wasn't at the peanut table, but like I opened them, and then I realized, and I freaked out, ran to the bathroom, washed my hands like 7 times, and then like felt terrible the rest of the day. So
I think it's so funny, like the things that I remember from like elementary school lunch.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Mary.
We didn't have any restrictions growing up on snacks and food. We did have like a table for the kids to eat, but I didn't have an allergy, so didn't think about them. Danielle. I don't know if you remember this. When my kids first started going to daycare, there was like big signs on the door that said like no cinnamon. And I always thought it was a kid that was allergic to cinnamon, but then this specific staff member quit, and they were like, "Oh, cinnamon's okay." So it was a staff. Okay, because I remember it probably would have been 2 years ago now, like when Mabel was first there. The first pumpkin spice season, I like thought I was being nice in the morning and bought like 6. Like I did like an iced pumpkin spice, a hot pumpkin spice, a blended pumpkin spice, like 2 of each, and was like bringing them to daycare to be like, happy pumpkin spice season, like here's for the staff. And then I got there and realized
that you should never do anything kind.
Cinnamon. And so then I went in and I was like, hey, I have 6 Starbucks drinks in my car. I was trying to be nice. I was like, can I bring them in or can I not? And they were like, oh, that guy's not working today. So yeah, bring him in. So. Nice. Okay, on to Junie B. Jones.
On to Junie B.
Really only 8 after. We didn't do that bad rambling.
Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. Okay, so I have something 12%, which is pretty much right off the bat, because these are so short that once you skip past like the table of contents, you're like 10% of the way into the book.
Correct.
Ollie waked me up very too early. He was screaming for his bottle, but screaming is not polite, and so he needed some discipline, I think.
I feel that. That's how I wake up most days. Mine's not till tic-tac-toe with Grace.
Okay, so I have more stuff then.
Okay.
This is the most delicious breakfast I ever ate, except for it doesn't actually taste that good.
Oh, I actually did mark something sooner than what I thought. When she says, except for the milk carton was very too heavy for me. So I just got the orange juice instead. Disgusting.
And also it was very delicious, except for it is going to make me puke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So those were some faves from chapter 1. And then
he's winning games with Grandpa.
Yeah. Then I get to Miller with Grace.
Huh?
Then we get to tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, tic-tac-toe with Grace. So Grandpa's clearly letting her win these games.
Yeah.
And then Junie B thinks she got tic-tac-toed 3 in a row. But then Grace says, your exes aren't in a row. And she says, I know they're not in a row, Grace. That's why I made a curvy line to connect them. And everyone's like, cheater, cheater.
Yeah. When she was describing all of these different games that she was playing and how she was playing them and how she was cheating, I was just thinking of the last like set of kids that I used to babysit on the regular, and how one was like a huge cheater, really common at that age. She was like Junie B's age. And I wouldn't let her get away with it. And she would always get so...
No, that drives me nuts. I feel like we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's a parenting fear of mine.
I was winning Connect 4 and she threw the board.
I mean, I'm sure me and my girls have some Candyland in our future.
You know?
She said, Grandpa Frank Miller is a sucker, I think. Hello. Hello to Michaela. And to Lizzie.
Wrong.
No. Unfriended, delete, block.
Absolutely not.
Not invited to game night. Love you so much, though. I don't have anything until chapter 4. This one
great. Let me talk then.
Don't mind if I do.
In chapter 2, she says, glum is when the happy is gone right out of you. When I read this, I was having kind of hard weeks, so I did highlight that. And I was like, the happy has gone right out of me.
That's kind of cute, though.
Okay, then I have chapter 4. Yeah.
Okay. I have... Oh, when her grandma says, shh, Junie B, not so loud. I just put the baby down for his nap when she gets home. And she says, yeah, only I'm excited down here, Helen. Yeah. We are not a call your parents, grandparents by their first name. People. No. I would never.
We didn't do that either.
Yeah, it's grandma to you.
I liked when she was practicing and it said, my heart got very pumping, because I found that relatable too. And then she gets in trouble, I think, with her grandma. And she says, well, good night, folks. Then I tried to sneak out of there.
There's more funny later that is talking like that.
Yeah.
Why did I mark this? Oh, it's this. When she floods the bathroom. Flushing the sponge. And her mom unlocks the door with the key to get in. And it says, Mother unlocked the door with the key. I smiled, very pleasant. Hello. How are you today? As like we know the toilet's overflowing. Yeah, that's the same thing, I think. Because then after that is when she says, well, good night, folks.
Good night, folks.
Out of there.
Okay, my next one's in chapter 5.
Yeah, mine's on for a while, I don't think.
Okay. It's when she sees the clown. And she yells at it, back off, clown. And it says, after that, me and my mother had a little talk. It was called no screaming, back off, clown. Only I never even heard of that rule before.
Yeah. Stupid rule. Danielle, that's a rule that we can break.
And then my next and last one is in chapter 6.
So is mine. I'm wondering if yours is the same one.
Mine says, guess what? I don't even know if I can throw these things now, because all that laughing is ruining my self-esteem.
No, mine is when she throws the sponge at that mini Jim. And it says, I hit him right in the kisser. Bullseye! I shouted very happy. Because I can just like picture like she's doing something clearly so naughty.
Yeah.
And my kid threw something at somebody's face and just screamed, bullseye, like they weren't going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Girl's crazy.
Truly unhinged behavior.
Yeah. That was my last one.
And then I had thoughts that I didn't highlight, which was basically this ended so abruptly. So like she makes her way to the cakewalk. She picks the fruitcake. She's like, ew, fruitcake is yucky. And then suddenly she's happy to be sitting on it at the end.
Yeah, the last line is, and also I appreciate my comb.
Yeah. Like, I feel like we were arcing and then we just like fell off a cliff, basically.
Yeah. There was no huge lesson at that.
Hence the 3 stars. I love when her teachers take aspirin. I think it's hilarious.
I don't feel like I was exposed to a lot of clowns either. Chris's like company picnic every year has a clown.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an overweight, short person with the clown stuff on, and she does the balloons and the face painting, and she's always in an awful mood. Period.
You heard it here first.
Bullseye.
Yeah, I don't know. This one was fun. It definitely, like, the fun part of it for me was how many memories I had of my own, like, elementary school carnivals and fairs and stuff, not like the actual book.
I get good vibes from these. I feel like it also, like it's nostalgic, and then also I feel like my own kids are like creeping up on this age that I'm like stressed.
Yeah. She's like,
I just like this respect on this. See it, and she's like, no, no, you can't see it. It's embarrassing.
Okay, so that was Junie B. Let's talk about friendship.
Friendship. It's been so long since I read this, which is gonna make me mad that I can't like fully talk about this as good as I'd like to. But what did we rate it?
I gave it 4 stars.
I gave it 5 stars.
No.
I feel like, I also feel like the nonfiction scale is different than like the fiction scale. And I thought that was a very good one. Danielle. Come babysit, please. 5 stars. Friendship, 4.5 stars. That's like probably one of the highest rated group books.
Yeah.
We've ever seen.
I think the reason it didn't get a 5-star for me, 2 reasons. 1, it got a bit repetitive in places. I was like, yes, I get the point. And then 2, I was having a really bad week. So
yeah, that's also fair.
I like couldn't focus on anything. So it got so
that's so valid. I don't know. I just feel like she did a good job of like all the examples she gave, like because we got direct examples of different people like living in these super close friendships and like how well it worked for them, but also the hardships of them like having to explain this to other people. And then like the question of like people being like, well, are they together? Like, are they romantically together? And then some of them like getting partners outside of the friendship and having to like navigate those relationships too.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting because I think this particular book, like the way that you view it is going to vary like largely based off of your own experiences and a lot of your identity too, right? So like as an ace person, the idea of having significant others in your life that are not necessarily like what society thinks of as like your significant other. That's a normal thing that I think about all the time.
Yes, understandable.
And so like I did appreciate they brought up the ace community in this book. I think that was my favorite chapter because I was like, represent.
Yeah.
And like obviously I'm not in the same position as them where I technically like I do have a romantic partner, a long-term monogamous romantic partner, but I do feel like there are still these ideas that society will always have for what a significant other is supposed to look like in the way that they function in your life.
I feel like she really explained it as like people who are like just anyone who is committing to like long-term being in your life.
Yeah.
Because I think like our friend group also is a good example of like people who do these things in different ways, because there's also the question of like, well, can you only have one partner or one best friend? And right, that the fact that that barrier is placed on like a sexual relationship or not, or being same gender or not. Again, I think the examples that were given in this were really good.
Yeah.
She talked about how her friendship that like really made her think about this, what has like been a friendship that was lost at some point.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people probably relate to. Like, I feel like I had a very close friend in high school that I feel like that's the age that a lot of people really like spend a lot of time with a friend, where I feel like it is less common as you come into adulthood, people choosing like a friend over a romantic partner.
Yeah. I definitely have had several friends at different points in my life where like we had very frank conversations about the roles that we wanted to play in each other's lives, like as we continue to grow up. And honestly, to this day, the fact that those friendships ended or changed in some way is still some of the most painful things that I think about, like a lot of the time. Like to think, oh, this person who meant so much to me was always there, like I haven't talked to in so long. Like that hurts.
Yeah.
So that definitely brought up some memories for me. And then also I felt like I was coming at it from a perspective of like, I don't know if Michaela's still here, but like as a twin, like I have this very strong connection where, especially living apart from one another now, I've realized like I don't want that in my future. Like I want us to be in the same place. And like other people, even when you do that with family, don't understand, especially if it's not because like you're moving because your parents need your help right now, just because you want to be around your family. Like that doesn't make sense to people either sometimes.
No, I feel like though, like you guys are a good testament. Like just because you're twins doesn't mean that you're committed to being in each other's lives forever. Like that also is a decision of friendship. Like you guys want to live your lives together, and that's a great thing.
Yeah. I mean, because there was a point in our lives in which like that wasn't necessarily the case.
Right. And it's a choice.
Yeah. So I really appreciated that. Okay, people have comments. You should probably read them.
I appreciated how intentional she was with the levels of inclusion with her real friends. Like she was very intentional in how she represented their story in each unique experience. And I feel like all the examples that she gave were like different. Like you were saying that it started to feel repetitive, but I do feel like all of the examples like had different struggles or like different ways that they came together. Obviously, it was interesting to me it was two women who weren't really that close, and then one like decided to have a baby.
Yeah.
The other one basically was just like, well, I'm going to be around and be helping with this. And like then that's where their close friendship started, because to me it's like, okay, if your best friend was going to have a baby, I see that role happening. But the way that theirs even like started to me was just kind of like, wow.
Yeah. I think there were two ways in which it got repetitive for me. And none of those ways was the different stories of the different friends. Like those were all very different and very inclusive. I thought one, she kept having the conversation.
What are you doing? Yeah, Martine. You say hi and then say bye.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, now say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, get your Cheeto fingers out of here. I literally thought this door was locked. Where's your dad? Okay, one moment, sorry. Okay, my bad.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, repetitive. So the different stories were interesting, but one, she kept harping on about how in each story she'd be like, but they didn't know what words to use for their relationship.
Well, yeah.
She said that every time, and I was like, I get it. They don't know what to call themselves. And then the second one was like, when we were talking about rights, I think those conversations were really important, but at some point she just kept saying it. And I was like, yeah, the protections aren't there, and that sucks, and it needs to change. Moving on. You know?
I just related so personally to so many different things, thinking about different stages in my life, and it was very validating. I mean, I don't know what I wanted to say. Like, I'm just curious if any of us here feel like we currently have, like, a friendship that you would describe this way. I think me and Martine do.
Yeah. I'm glad you feel that way too, because that's how I feel.
Like, I think most of my, like, inner circle of even my online friends, like, I feel that way, that, like, these are people that I will have in my life.
Yeah. I mean, and I've said it a couple times over
I don't
the
have
last
anybody, like, here that I feel like I live my life next to.
Yeah. I feel like I've been in such a weird part of my life where I've just been, like, rotating through different situations, and I've said it before, but, like, I will keep saying it, that one of the reasons I'm still, like, okay as I go through all those changes is because you all have still been there and been very steady in all of those transitions. So, like, everything changes and you guys don't. So
that is, I feel like the same way, like, you have gone through your moving through schools, and, like, I've came into, like, my, like, motherhood, and this is, like, the one thing that I feel like I haven't lost in that, which is, like, so huge.
Yeah.
Love you guys. I was engaged in the sections about, like, what it's like to grieve different relationships or the accessibility we restrict on certain relationships legally when in the hospital, etc. Yeah. Because the two women that I was talking about with the child, like, the one couldn't help the child.
Yeah, and, like, the whole mess of she couldn't adopt because then the other had to forfeit her rights.
Right.
So they go through that whole process. That was insane.
It's definitely something that brings me stress at times, where it's like, well, I'd have no ability to even be there for them if something happens. Yeah. But I feel like there's something I want to say that I don't know how to say. Like, everyone has to have somebody that they put as, like, an emergency contact. So I don't want Danielle to feel like there's anybody that she couldn't, like, that she would be like, nope, you can't see them.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that's the case either. You just may not be, like, allowed to make decisions, I guess. That story was also really interesting to me as someone who previously identified as aromantic and had the plan of single motherhood. Exactly. In that case, I'm wondering if you thought, because I would think that in that case, like, the thought of having a friend that wanted to be that involved and helpful sounds pretty good to me. Sounds like I'm now searching for a third person here. Yeah. I mean, we can all talk later, obviously.
Yeah.
I did have a friend like this, and then I moved away for a year in separation anxiety, and then got a crush on him. Oops.
Y'all know how that ended.
It's often just nice to know that there are other situations and people that want to fight against arbitrary restrictions and norms, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the week that I mainly read this during, I was actually spending sorry, I keep talking about this.
No, it's okay.
A lot of time thinking about
was in the pits of hell.
What legal protections there are or are not for people. And I was reading this and I was like, none of us are safe.
Yeah.
So that was great. And I was also, like, I was thinking about conversations that Harris and I have had, because, like, we're not sure if we're going to be married at any point. But I remember we had a very frank conversation when he got his first, like, big boy job, and he signed up for his insurance. And he's like, the only way they'll let me change this insurance is to get married. And so if I get in a really terrible accident, will you please marry me so that I can get the healthcare I need? And I was like, got you there, seen, because, like, the legal protections are like, that's so much of what it is.
Okay. I might say something that it's not like gonna be hugely controversial, but might be a little controversial. But like, there's no requirement in marriage that you have to have sex with that person. So like, if two people also just like wanted to get married, even though they're not like in that type of relationship,
wasn't there an example of that in this book where like
did anybody get?
And I think one thing that they had talked about was that there was a problem where, like, if they met a future partner, like, didn't one go through the thing when they were married, then
I think they considered it.
And like,
oh yeah, they did.
Yeah. And so like,
I think it was that same couple, the two ladies who had the kid, and then I think they did no,
it was different.
But it's still only like marriage.
Still different two ladies.
Only give the benefit of marriage to one person.
Yeah.
So like, if you are married, but like, to me, it's the question of like I'm married, but I could also have like a friendship that may be like valued over that. Or I feel like she also talked about how like saying that your romantic partner is also your best friend is like a lot for one person to be.
Yeah.
Which like, I do feel like Chris is my best friend, but also like, I feel like we talk about like, it's good to not like dump all my stuff on him, or like, of course, in every relationship, like sometimes I need to vent about him, and that's not always productive to do towards him, or like one person cannot be everything for you.
Correct.
So why should only one person be able to have legal benefits to you?
Yeah. Because society's dumb.
Yeah. Where was I? Okay, I was already there. Oh no, Martine. I also felt validated in the section about queer women and the idea that every lesbian falls in love with their best friend. I mean, I think there was a lot of discussion in this in general of just all of these like same-sex friendships. I remember two guys that their like friends and family pressure was really like, it's okay if you're together. Like, you can tell me if you're together. Like, we know you're together. And they were like, we're not together.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like, that just has to be so frustrating to have to explain to other people. Like, I'm prioritizing this person. We live together. Like, we do our lives side by side because it's a benefit to both of us. But like, they're not my lover.
Yeah.
I mean, just marry somebody who matches you well. I feel like that's why us in a Junie B. Jones live show. Yeah, so many past marriages.
Junie B. Jones loves controversy.
She does. Valid. Junie B. Jones as an adult would love this.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why so many past marriages for generations have failed. It's just the unnecessary expectation on so many aspects.
You don't think it's the fact that a lot of them got married for very different reasons than, like, I don't know.
I've watched 2 seasons of Married at First Sight in a row, with the episodes being dropped of Love is Blind in between. Kind of on an arranged marriage kick here, so.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just think, like, so much has changed since 50 years ago, and in our lifetime, like, we'll see so much more change.
Yeah.
I appreciated when she mentioned relationship anarchy in the poly communities. It's very much the idea of, like, why can I only hug this person, but I can kiss this person? That's dumb.
Fair.
My mind just went somewhere silly that I can't say out loud.
You're like,
we all know a person who like wants to kiss on the cheek too much, or like wants to Like, we can't greet everyone that way, but maybe more than one person we can.
I mean, your example of kissing on the cheek doesn't work for me because my uncle is very French Canadian, very Quebecois, and like that's how they greet everybody.
My step grandparents are kiss on the mouth greeters.
Oh dear,
And
no.
like it's just like it's so normal to them.
Yeah.
And we had to get used to, and I feel like they learned that they were getting the side cheek turn.
Yeah.
It like took some adjustment there. Again, norms are different everywhere, and everyone can choose what they want to and not to do to an extent.
But I think like a lot of these ideas, and the reason why society is built this way, that's like not advantageous for all of these relationships that are talked about in the book, is because I hate myself a little for saying this. Okay, because the human brain has such a limited processing capacity, and so we want to group things and have very distinct like lines between things. Otherwise, the world doesn't make sense. Like we can't handle nuance physically. We just don't have the processing power for it. So like even for people understanding like there are different types of attraction, right? They can't do it. They can't think about it that way. And even as a person who's like had to grapple with that in my own identity every day, I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
Right. I also think though, like, it's also that like my way or the highway mentality.
Yeah.
Like for someone to be like, well, this is what feels right to me, so that's how everyone should do it. Like that must be morally correct.
Right.
Like just also is false.
Yeah.
Like that's great for you if that's what you want to do. But that's not what everybody has to do, or like how like not everybody has to have only one person they rely on for everything.
Right. And
If
it's
your
like
one person is really great, then I guess that's fine.
this idea of like you want the people that you care about to be happy, and so you want to impose like your vision of what happiness looks like on them. So like when parents want their kids to get married, have kids of their own, like all of those things.
I also think though, like I made a comment earlier about expectations of sex and relationships and said like just like pick a partner who is on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's where like the most complications in finding partners is like you do kind of have to have the same idea of what the individual relationship is.
Right. And like even all of the friendships that were discussed in this book could have looked drastically different if they all were on like a different page about it. They happen to be
it seems like they all communicated well
about
what was happening here. Oh, I am a hugger. But if somebody was like, no, thank you, I'd be like, okay. I mean, like to like not to strangers, but like if I saw Danielle,
depends on the context. I mean, I don't
initiate Danielle in person, I would want to hug her because like we're already close people.
Yeah.
But, like if I just met you that day, I'm probably not going for a hug.
I tend not to initiate hugs. I really like hugs, but I do not initiate them. Probably because I'm like, I can't read a room, and so I don't know when it's okay to hug people.
So when I meet Martine, I'm just gonna hold her and be like, it's okay. It's okay.
And I'll be like, okay.
And you're gonna be like, please, when are you gonna let go? I'm so sad that like this only goes like same with Magic Treehouse, where like they're the same age. Like we're only getting kindergarten and first grade. I want middle school Junie B and Grace and Lucille. Then again,
Abby, you're real for this. There was this good example of boundary setting on, I think it was on Dancing with the Stars. At least I read about this. I don't actually remember it happening. But Lizzie, if you remember this happening, back me up. But basically, the first week, the stars will like meet their assigned professional dance partner. And Riley Arnold and Steven Nedorozic met. And, pommel horse guy from the Olympics. Okay, anyway, so they met, and Riley was like, I'm a hugger, and he was like, I am a shaker, and then like that's how they established it.
I feel like that's like so real though. Like how many times have people probably had that exact interaction in real life? Like that's what Danielle is describing.
Well, most people wouldn't actually state their preference. They would be like, okay.
They will just sit there and be uncomfortable. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Would be insane. Oh, she's sassy through and through. Yeah. Jack would be like, stop bringing this girl over.
She'd make Jack anxious because she's an even bigger troublemaker than Annie. And like Annie already triggers his anxiety plenty.
I actually kind of think that Annie wouldn't like her either.
I think at first she would like her initial reaction would be like, ooh, and then Junie B would like actually be Junie being, and she'd be like, oh, never mind. This is too much.
I mean, Junie B has like the curiosity, but
yeah, they both have curiosity. The difference is like Annie still like she still gels with Jack in a way because at the end of the day, they have like a similar moral compass.
Sure.
Basically. Probably because they were raised together and are fake. But
I knew better because I was including Magic Treehouse in my spreadsheet when I first started. Okay, so these, yeah, they came out in the same time frame. Because this one was 1995. So the series were like simultaneously coming out.
Sorry, Danielle.
I feel like I'm a Junie B. Or I was. No.
Not questioning it. I will say she makes some bad decisions, but that's because she's 5.
I think that like Junie B's at this stage sense of like right and wrong is like essentially what this series is about.
Yeah. And like who is it? I think it's like Erickson's model of like moral learning. Like there are different stages. She's on her way there, but she's 5, so she's not there yet.
But I feel like Jack and Annie are presented much more as like they know right from wrong
because they are not written as accurate as children.
Always like their whole storylines are like helping people and animals.
Yeah. I think that's partially because of the 2 different like goals of the series.
Right.
Also, yes. Yay, different goals. Also, they are both written like older than they actually are, and they're actually older than Junie B.
Facts.
So,
what Martine said.
She'll get there.
She's trying her best.
She's learning every time.
Yeah.
Like she just learned the rule that you can't yell back off clown. She just learned that. Now she knows.
Or bullseye.
Yeah. She knows now.
Does she?
Okay, don't come after Jack and Annie like that. Danielle, I can't.
I mean, like, I second that this is way more fun.
Yeah.
But that, like, the intent of the series are different.
Yeah.
We're learning different things. That's why our nonfictions are also different.
Yeah.
Speaking of, are we done talking about this one?
I don't know. Are we? Friendships are cool. Oh, one thing I did really appreciate is how she described like the process of becoming friends with M, because like the feelings that she was feeling as she was going through it, and like the idea of like a friend crush and stuff, because that's something that I relate to very deeply. It's always been very confusing for me as a person who feels romantic attraction. Is I never know which is it. And like
actually I second that.
So I liked that she talked about that, and she was like, this other person was my partner, but like I was feeling these things about M. And I know that Ruby mentioned it in the Discord, but she was talking about like kind of the opposite of one usual queer phenomenon. So there's like compulsive heterosexuality, where like you date people to appear like heterosexual because that's what you think like you're supposed to do. And the opposite in like the queer experience is like you think you've been in love with every single one of your previous friends. Once you come out, you're like, oh well, I was in love with all of them. And like this book was arguing like that's not necessarily the case. Like they're two different things, which I found really interesting. And looking back on my friendships growing up, I also have like big question marks everywhere.
Like the difference of like, oh, I think I have a crush on this person, but is it like, do I want to be their friend, or do I want to do the worm with them? You know,
the worm.
Yeah,
I have no worm to judge based off of. Like, yeah, I don't have that as my other goalpost.
I know.
Which is very confusing.
That is confusing.
The two different non-worm situations. Which do I mean?
Facts.
Life is wacky.
It is. Do the worm. What else am I supposed to say? We're here to talk about Junie B. Jones.
You literally said it earlier.
Oops.
Okay, well, what are our books for this next month? I mean, this month.
Not this, actually. Okay.
No, right now.
Next October, Junie B. Jones and that Mimi Jim's birthday. That's negative. But then Junie B. Jones loves Handsome Warren. And then Junie B. Jones has a monster under her bed, which is good for October.
Heck yeah. Halloween. Nothing scarier than men and monsters. Sometimes the same thing.
For real. For real. And then to warn everybody, in November, the next nonfiction, if that's all you're here for, is the Brene Brown. We're doing Braving the Wilderness because Martine already read and loved
Daring
a
Greatly.
more popular one, which was, that one that she just said. But most of her stuff is pretty highly received. So, The Quest for True Belonging and the Courage to Stand Alone. That should be a good this will be a good follow-up to that, actually, I think. This is like friendship, and this is like be brave enough to be alone.
Yeah. All of her stuff is about like bravery and being yourself, which I love, and it's all based off of her research. Like she's the top psychological researcher in that area. She's good at what she does.
I'm excited.
Why will you keep an open mind about Brene Brown? What did she do?
Give it a try. And then in January, we're doing a finance book, which I'm excited for, but then maybe I'll look ahead sometime soon here to like keep that going. I didn't link the document in this live stream because I'm the worst, but it's places. We have been like picking them a few in advance. So if anyone ever wants to look ahead, it's in the document of the schedule of reading this, which I can link to anybody if they ask for it. Oh.
Which one did you hate? And do I have to fight you?
Fight. Who's my money on? Who'd win in this fight?
I don't know.
I feel like Lizzie always has like a crochet hook or a knitting needle or something on her to just like really get after it.
Oh yeah, a physical fight.
But if it's a dance battle, actually a dance battle between Martine and Lizzie?
No, Lizzie would win.
Lizzie, join the live stream right now.
It's battle time.
Okay, really, we just want to know which one you hated.
Yeah. She also wins because she's a top researcher in her field.
I've never heard of that one, so that was probably the mistake.
Okay, I've heard of it. I haven't read it though. I don't know.
You already read a perfectionism book?
Similar, so.
Okay.
Well,
That's
depending on how that one goes, we might have an interesting conflicting conversation. And so either
Sure.
way, have a good
That could be
chat.
fun.
We
Okay.
can get it out.
Well, I had fun discussing these. We talked for a long time considering this was 2 books.
Correct.
And
Good job, team.
I liked them. Okay, bye. Talk to everyone later. We can talk later. Okay, bye.